I'm going to share over the next 15 minutes a real-life example of how we worked with an investment bank to change mindsets, beliefs, behaviours and capabilities in pursuit of a particular desired state. Just to ask the audience right now, how many of you have got a watch on your arm? Put your hand in the air. Okay. How many of you don't have a watch on your arm? Okay. How many of you are left? Okay. That's quite surprising. Normally when I ask that question, there's a number of people in the audience that were either asleep or didn't really understand quite where I was going. What I'd like you to do right now, though, those who've got a watch on their arm, I'd like you just to take it off, and I'd like you to put it on your other arm. Yeah? So whichever arm it's on, take it off and put it on your other arm. Where I'm going to start with this presentation is I'm going to start with a very short video around communication. I think it might be a video that you will have seen before, but it's certainly one that I've seen many times, and I enjoy it, frankly, every time I show it. I know this is about you, not about me, but I hope you get something out of it. What I think you will experience is some rich, creative, quite dynamic communication. I think at the same time, what you might also experience is some of the frustrations that you face in your organisations when you're trying to get your people to modernise, to change, to do things a little bit differently. So sit back and enjoy this short video.
I bought something from you last week, and I'm very disappointed.
Down, please.
Oh, yeah? What's the problem? Yeah, well, my BlackBerry is not working. What's the matter? Run out of juice? No, it's completely frozen. Oh, yeah, I can see that. I'll tell you what, let's try it on orange. That's got a few black spots, you see that? Oh, dear, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Was anything I can do to get my BlackBerry working? Well, it could be an application issue. But where do you store that BlackBerry? Well, it's on my desktop. Well, you could try using a mouse to drag the BlackBerry to the trash. Then after you've done that, you might want to launch the BlackBerry from the desktop. Well, I've already tried that a few times. I mean, all it did was mess up Windows. Well, it might be worth waiting a couple of weeks. They got the latest BlackBerries coming in then. Well, could you give me a date? Certainly. Let me put that date in my diary.
I'd love to play you more, but I mean, you know, the video goes on and on. Anyone who emails me afterwards, I'm more than happy to forward you the video. I think it's a great example of the opportunity that exists in terms of the way in which we all communicate with each other and the way in which we create different experiences. So let me set the scene for this particular project. I've already mentioned that my client was an investment bank. It is and it was an international investment bank operating in 8 countries across 3 continents. When we engaged with them and we started the journey with them a few years ago, they were part of a merged organization that had come together with different cultures, different attitudes, different behaviors, different views about the future. So, as you could imagine, there were a lot of challenges. At the same time, they were going through significant turbulence from a political and economic perspective. And those of you who've read newspapers and listened to the news also know that there's been a media onslaught in that particular sector. So as you can probably imagine, there were a lot of fairly disgruntled people that weren't particularly engaged and weren't particularly productive. Our particular assignment was working with IT people. And I'm going to make a sweeping generalization, but kind of bear with me for a moment. A lot of intelligent, left brain, cognitive, logical people work in IT. Have you ever experienced that when you've tried to connect with your own IT people? Yeah? So I'm kind of building them up, You know, I'm not being critical of them, but sometimes they may lack emotional intelligence. So what was the burning platform? Well, the burning platform was simple. The executive group, or the executives of this particular IT function, had made a promise to the board that they would significantly reduce operational costs. And that was a problem for them. That was a problem because they already had demoralized staff. So as a result, they put their head above the parapet, they exhibited bravery as a leadership team, and decided that they would make a significant investment in their people at the same time as cost cutting. So we connected with them and tried to understand what it was they would like the future to be like. Yeah? Describe it to us. What are the well-formed outcomes that you would like to have as a consequence of what it is we might do? And it was really quite interesting because it was really quite practical and quite pragmatic. And the kind of things that they described to us went along the following lines. We'd like some of our people to stop blind copying others on emails. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? You know, why would you want to do that? You know, what kind of impact might that happen? What's the commercial value of that occurring? Oh, they'd quite like some of their people to pick up the phone instead of emailing the person who sat next to them, or, you know, the person on the floor right beneath them. They wanted to change the culture of the organization. Oh, big grandiose statement. What does that really mean? So we dug deep into what they really wanted. And what they really meant by that is they wanted to develop a culture of feedback, giving feedback and receiving feedback. And that was because that really was a problem within their organization. I'm already getting a sign saying I've got, oh, somebody's got a little counter. How about that for modern technology? Hold that up, Tom. He's got an iPad there telling me I've got 7 minutes and 13 seconds to go. So I'm going to have to up the pace a little bit. So as you can imagine, there were a long series of well-formed outcomes that had been well thought through. The leadership team had engaged with the 5,000 people working in this particular IT function to litmus test whether they were going in the right direction and whether that would represent value for every individual within that particular organization. So what did we do? Well, we co-developed, co-designed, built and deployed a global program. And that global program touched all 5,000 staff, from the chief technology officer right down to the business analyst. Every single person went through exactly the same experience. The leadership team went through some coaching, mentoring, leadership deliverables that were very specific to them. But they were expected to roll their sleeves up and get down to the granular level. And the reason for that is that they were not particularly good at receiving feedback and giving feedback. They were not particularly good at doing the very things that they wanted their people to do. But the great news was they were really quite acknowledging of it. So the framework or the model that sat behind what it is we did was what we call the logical levels of change. And I know some of you will be familiar with that. They will have never seen it, quite frankly, but what I'm saying is from a design perspective, we used that as the bedrock for the particular program. So what we find in our experience, and it was really the case with this organization, is that often there is a reasonably clear endpoint, desired state, series of well-formed outcomes. What then normally happens is there is a desire to create the environment and the skills to execute. Our opinion and our experience suggests that you're never actually going to get to the desired state unless you tap into the higher logical levels. So unless you change the belief system, the values that people hold, and the way they look and the way they perceive themselves in terms of their identity, it is unlikely that you are ever going to get to where you got to. You know, a really good example on, I think it was Saturday, I didn't watch it, but Wigan won the FA Cup. Yes, I can see there's a supporter over there. You know, why did they win the cup? You know, did they enhance their skills? Absolutely not. Did they create a new environment? Absolutely not. Did they have an eye on the desired state? Yes. Did they believe in themselves? Absolutely they did. And I think you will find many, many examples where if you hold the right belief system at an individual, team or organizational level, you give yourself a great chance of getting there. So that's the framework. You know, we ran workouts, workshops, we psychometrically profiled all 5,000 people. We used some emotional intelligence tools. There were face-to-face interventions. We created toolkits that were cascaded via the managers and leaders. Frankly, there was lots of clever stuff. And I'm more than happy to email you the detailed case study that specifies everything that we did. Commercial metrics, I just kind of want to give you one. It's pretty easy, isn't it, when you've got large numbers of people? You've probably all by now read the slides, so you know, I don't need to speak the words, but you know, financially it was very, very easy to justify the initiative that they were about to embark on. But I would say, and I've used the word already, I think the leaders exhibited a huge amount of bravery in terms of investing in people as opposed to purely cost-cutting, and it paid huge dividends for them, not only in that particular example, but across a whole series of different metrics that contributed to commercial gain. So that's what they got out of it. What were the 7 winning moves? You know, there are many, but I just wanted to pick out 7 key things. And frankly, 7 key things that we learned and we now apply, frankly, in every program that we get involved in. I know a number of people have already said this, but executive participation is crucial. I don't mean executive approval. I don't mean executive signing off the budget. I mean them rolling up their sleeves and doing the same things that they expect their people to do. So opening themselves up to risk and exposure is an incredibly powerful thing to do. I think the second thing is connect with the emotions and feelings of those at the top, those in the middle, and those at the bottom, or frankly, everybody in the organization. There's a great quote, a number of you will probably know it better than I do. I think it kind of goes, people forget what you say, they forget what you do, but they always remember how you make them feel. And I think that resonates incredibly well in any change initiative, in any improvement initiative, or any kind of program of this nature. I've already said enough about beliefs and identity. I've got a final point to make on it in a moment, so I will come back to it. I couldn't present without talking about the aggregation of marginal gains. And again, you know, it's a phrase that has become more common as a consequence of the Olympics and the British cycling team. So I'm sure many of you enjoyed that particular moment. And the point is really quite profound in the sense that you achieve quantum leaps by a series of very small things. So stopping blind copying somebody on an email across 5,000 people, when you add that to another 10 or 15 things, may have a significant impact. Leader-teacher, this is a very basic principle, but shift the accountability and responsibility for teaching to the leaders and the managers within the organization. Don't rely on the HR function, don't rely on the learning and development people, and don't rely on an external company like mine. I'm down to 14 minutes, but I'm going to get there. Tune to the RACT. RACT is an acronym. It says, if you want to communicate with somebody, understand their role, you know, because a CEO is different to a CTO and a CFO. Understand their agenda, their business agenda, but also their personal agenda. Think about their culture, individually, team-wise, organisationally, and also think about their temperament. And view that as a cake mix. If you get the 4 ingredients right, it'll really taste good. And make sure everything you do is relevant to the individual, relevant to the team, and most importantly, make sure it is aligned to the business strategy. Because if it isn't, it's highly unlikely that the people that you need to get on the bus are going to get on the bus. So that's run out of time. That's my email address. If you'd like the funny video, email me. If you'd like the case study, email me. And a final thing, I think I've left a book called 100 Big Ideas on Every Seat. On page 36, there are 12 beliefs of excellence. Here's a kind of thought for you. Read those beliefs of excellence and imagine that everybody in your organisation were to embrace them as a truth. And think about what might happen if they were to do just that. Thank you.